Joe was ready. He was showered in cologne. Tonight was the night. His blind date was Cindy. So he hopped in his car and headed to her apartment. He knocked on her door, and to his surprise, she was exactly how his cousin said she looked. She was perfect. Cindy was a petite brunette with sexy pixie-cut hair. Her skin looked soft and tan. Joe wasn't bad-looking himself. He had slicked and clean hair and an above-average-sized penis. She invited him in for a drink before they went out for dinner. Joe said that would be mighty fine. They sat down and really hit it off, slowly enjoying their drinks and trading stories. When they finished the drinks, Cindy declared that she was going to use the little girl's room. When she was gone, Joe felt strange. His stomach began to gurgle, and before he had time to react, he shit and pissed in his pants. It came out so violently and so quickly that his anus and urethra were sore. He was sure there would be blood. He was in a panic. What could have caused this? He remembered he had drank milk and ice cream earlier in the day. Joe was lactose intolerant. Joe also had an unfortunate part of his sexual life that he liked to keep secret. He was extremely turned on by shit and piss. His penis grew increasingly hard, so hard in fact that it began to hurt. He thought it might even pop. Now, like I said, Joe had an above-average-sized dick. And by that, I mean it was fucking huge. A Clydesdale horse would be put to shame by him. He had no choice. He took off his now piss and diarrhea-saturated khakis. He gently folded them and draped the stinking mess over her flat-screen TV. The urine and Duke had mixed together and created a cloudy brown liquid that seeped into her TV and dripped down onto her family photos that decorated her television stand. Her mini poodle had watched the entire thing. When Cindy entered the room, she was shocked and appalled to find a half-naked, shit-covered man with a raging and fully erect penis standing in her living room. Calmly, Joe turned to her and shrugged. Without warning, Cindy lunged toward him, frightening Joe, and started licking the blood and shit off his cock. They both fell to the carpet and disrobed hastily. Almost as though they had practiced it, Joe spun her on top of him into 69. The slippery, foul-smelling ass chili made this maneuver easier. She continued to lick penis and then began to brutally throat his cock, using much more teeth than they taught her to use in Sunday school. This caused his penis little cuts and lacerations. They were long, too. Although not deep, they still hurt. But Joe didn't care. His staff was so hard it began splitting like a hot dog in the microwave. It was all worth it. While she aggressively worked his cock, he feverishly lapped up her twat and asshole. As he sucked on her ass, Cindy forced out a monstrous and dense ingot of shit straight into Joe's hungry mouth. It filled up his cheeks and overflowed up above his lips like the dome cap of an icy. It needed to be chewed to become more malleable and clay-like in texture. Joe chomped and chewed until he was satisfied with its velvety consistency. He then clamped his jaws tightly shut and pushed the orangish-brown shite through the cracks of his teeth as a child would do with chocolate pudding. Cindy stopped sucking Joe and watched him do this. It was much too much for Cindy, and as a result, she had a squirting orgasm not unlike a stinky old faithful. Joe choked down her dump and tried to guzzle as much of her cunt fountain as he could. When she finished, he wiped the remaining chunks of her cottage cheese-style ejaculate. Cindy gave Joe's cock a tight squeeze and a few jacks, and Joe responded with a weak, dribbling orgasm, about one-third of an average load. The excitement was over, and the passion was gone. They both stood up. Joe picked up his pants and slung them over his left shoulder, glittering the wall behind him with droplets of waste. Joe then walked to the door, turned to Cindy, they bowed to each other, and Joe left. It took longer for me to tell you this story than it took for them to complete their sex act. You're probably asking yourself, after all that, why did he end up leaving? Surely two people who enjoy shit-fucking are compatible enough to at least finish the date. Now this is where you are wrong, my friend. When Joe first stepped into Cindy's apartment, he noticed a pack of cigarettes sitting on her counter. Well, Joe's not a smoker.